Last week, House Freedom Caucus Representative Andy Harris was caught on camera suggesting that the state of North Carolina should essentially hand over all of its electoral votes to Donald Trump. His reason? Well, Hurricane Helene impacted a number of conservative counties, and it could make it more difficult for voters in those counties to cast their ballot for, in his mind, Donald Trump. And so let's not even bother with the electoral process. Let's just hand the electoral votes to Trump and bypass the electoral process altogether. Let's hear what he has to say.
You statistically can go and say, hey, look, you got disenfranchised in 25 counties. You know what that vote probably would have been, which would be, if I were in the legislature, enough to go, yeah, we got to convene the legislature, and we can't disenfranchise that vote.
Okay, now that's bad enough. I mean, just preventing the electoral process and handing a state's electoral votes to Donald Trump, or any candidate for that matter, is immoral and does not help to essentially move in a more justice-minded approach for those who might be disenfranchised as a result of Hurricane Helene. But believe it or not, Harris was actually arguing against an even more extreme proposal. So he was at a dinner where a pro-Trump activist by the name of Ivan Raiklin stated that several states should just preemptively hand over their electoral votes to Trump on election day. Let's hear what he had to say.
Have you thought of, and why aren't you calling on the state legislatures in the entire country to just go ahead and convene on November 5th to allocate their own state's electors? At a minimum in North Carolina, New Hampshire, Nebraska, Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, so that those states guarantee that no illegals are voting, no illegal drop boxes, no illegal signature non-verification going on, and it's fully free, fair, transparent, and it can be live streamed on X, Rumble, and C-SPAN for the whole world to see as the world watches that state legislature hold that vote on November 5th to allocate those states' electors, so that Arizona doesn't have to wait 10 to 13 days for the results. So that Pennsylvania, right? And other states. Guess what happens if everyone votes by political party under that framework in the country? Right now, 276 electoral votes are controlled by Republican legislatures.
So Congressman Andy Harris responded to that unhinged proposal with the proposal that you heard about, basically just focusing on North Carolina, because what you just heard from Raiklin, Harris believes is a power play. Now, Harris also was asked about the comment that you heard on camera, like the situation in which the North Carolina electoral votes would be handed over to Trump. And he says, no, it was just his theoretical scenario was taken out of context. He says, as I've repeatedly said, every legal vote should be counted. I would hope everyone could agree that legal American voters whose lives were devastated by the recent storms should not be disenfranchised in the upcoming voting process. Now, I agree with that wholeheartedly, which is why there are efforts being made as we speak to ensure that affected areas of North Carolina are able to vote. So I can get into some of those details in just a moment, but Cenk, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, if you're wondering, if you're a Trump supporter or Republican and you're wondering why they keep saying you're against democracy, here's your answer. When idiots in your own party, and he's not an unsubstantial guy, he is a United States congressman, he's the head of the Freedom Caucus, the most conservative group in the House, and he says, well, why don't we just say that Trump won before anybody votes? That's why they think you're against democracy. Is that complicated? Do I need to be clearer about it? And then the other idiot jumps in and goes, yeah, why don't we just declare him the winner in all the swing states? Okay, so you guys are for a dictatorship. Let's just be clear about it. That's not democracy. I don't care what you, oh, well, no, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. What is this? What is this? Imagine if Kamala Harris said, oh yeah, the swing states. Or not Kamala Harris, to be fair, the head of the Pramila Jayapal, the head of the Progressive Caucus, came out and said the swing states or just Wisconsin should be declared Kamala Harris's before anyone votes. The Republicans would lose their minds, and of course they should. Of course they should. But when Democrats say, "Hey, that seems problematic," it seems like you guys kind of hate democracy. They're like, "How dare you?" You have this impulse in your party, and it's gross. It's un-American. It sells out this country. It sells out our democracy. It sells out our Constitution. So that guy should be primaried. He should be removed from office. And Republicans, you vote for him again, you hate this country.
So thankfully, Andy Harris did receive some pushback from fellow Republican lawmakers, including a Republican who actually represents the state of North Carolina, and his name is Patrick McHenry. He says the following: "It makes no sense whatsoever to prejudge the election outcome, and that is a misinformed view of what is happening on the ground in North Carolina. Bless his heart." The retiring congressman described a massive amount of work going into ensuring everyone in the storm-affected counties can vote. And thankfully, that is in fact true. So look, I hear anyone who is concerned about this issue. I was personally worried myself about how those in affected areas would be able to cast their ballots, but here's what's going on the ground. Election workers' swift pivot to emergency measures and coordination with state administrators in the immediate aftermath of Helene have resulted in a relatively smooth early voting process for residents in the 25 FEMA designated disaster counties. Statewide, more than 2 million cast their ballots within the first week of early voting in the battleground state. So clearly, these methods that are being utilized to ensure that people are able to vote and vote early are working. More than 400 early voting sites opened as scheduled on Thursday, including 76 sites in the 25 western counties hardest hit by Helene, and that's according to the state's Board of Elections. Only 4 could not open.
Look, you guys don't have to cheat. Kamala Harris's campaign just pulled out of North Carolina. Trump's gonna win anyway in that state. So they stopped advertising there. That's what I mean by pulling out. So that means they think their internal polling shows that they've lost. Okay, but they just can't help themselves. That's their instinct. So Republicans, let me ask you something. I thought you said you hated mail-in voting and early voting and all these and dropping off the ballots and all these things. See, we're principled. We believe in it, whether it's a Republican area or a Democratic area. Everybody should vote. Of course, we should do everything we can to make sure those folks can vote, whether they're mailing their ballot in or they're dropping off their ballot or whatever. Let's get them ballots. The Republicans would call that ballot harvesting, right? No, let's get them ballots so they can vote, right? That's what decent people who love this country would do. Republicans say, no, not in Democratic areas. No, none of that. Oh my God, a Republican area was affected? Oh, let's rush in all these votes and you know what, forget it. Don't even rush in the votes, just declare Trump the winner. Okay, well then you know which party hates democracy and which party likes democracy. So don't complain about it. If you say we should kill democracy, don't be like, oh, I'm offended when you say it. No, you should be, if you're not livid at that congressman and you're not gonna vote him out, then shut up already about, oh no, boo-hoo. Just because Trump lost an election and tried to overturn it with fake electors and said we should terminate the Constitution, and we have the head of the Freedom Caucus saying we shouldn't even vote, we should declare Trump the winner. Oh, well, gee, I wonder why people think we're against democracy. Really, you can't figure it out?
Yeah, these folks think that they're helping Trump, but they're doing the exact opposite, right? I mean, they're providing fodder for one of the biggest talking points in Kamala Harris's campaign against Donald Trump. And so this is, I mean, look, they just say it out loud and then they get upset when people talk about it. Don't advocate for basically circumventing the electoral process in any state, including, North Carolina is considered a swing state, right?
Yes.
But I mean, based on the polling, it's looking pretty good for Donald Trump. Making statements like that is gonna make people question whether the results are legitimate. Don't do that.
Yeah, last thing. The Republicans now have this entitlement complex where they think that they're entitled to perfect conditions before an election. Okay, we don't want any of the bad stories coming out. We want only good stories coming out. We don't want platforms putting anything negative up. We want platforms only positive towards us. If any hurricane happens, then we cancel the election, declare us the winner. Everything has to go perfectly for us, otherwise election interference. That's not how it works. James Comey buried Hillary Clinton before the 2016 election. That's called life in the big city, okay? You have to be able to adjust, get past it, and win. There are never perfect conditions. So, and the reason why they're saying absurd things like that is because Trump says it. Yeah, the president's unfair to me, so that's election interference. That's not election interference, that's just an election. So just let your entitlement complex go already. You're not entitled to win the election, you have to earn it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.